The Invisible Man fascinates me, and not because of its content. Truth be told, I haven't seen the movie, but I see headlines like this. Friday box office, Onward plunges 73%, and Invisible Man, it weathers all of this insanity. But wait, I thought this stuff was going to kill every movie. Now, what they're talking about with this is the drop-off in money, with Pixar's Onward earning a $3.225 million on Friday for a likely $12.51 million second-week gross. Now, compare that with The Invisible Man that had the smallest drop in the top 20, earning $1.83 million for a likely $6.36 million third-week gross. Perhaps that success, or the need for a win, describes why certain people out there have embraced the Invisible Man, when, if you look back, you can see a totally different story. See, back in November, Puritans decreed that Invisible Man was the worst thing ever. Worse than stepping on a Lego with your bare feet. Worse than getting bubblegum in your hair. Worse than having to sit through Todd Phillips' Joker. The worst of the worst. Then, something unexpected happened. Despite being an underdog horror movie with little to no chance of actually succeeding, it went on to make $108 million worldwide, becoming a monumental success. Not only that, but it's performing in a time when movies aren't supposed to make money, and it's outperforming movies like we just talked about, with Onward falling by the wayside. That was supposed to be a victory, but now it's not. Suddenly, interestingly, that changed the narrative of the movie, and no longer do we have this spin saying, "Oh my God, that thing is so terrible." Success, you see, dictated that they take it all back, and suddenly this was one of those things that proved, hey, you can make a movie our way, and we're going to win in the end. Interesting. So hey there. So today we return to that wonderful world of movies where apparently it's box office, not the things that are crammed into a movie or not, that dictate whether or not something is claimed by, well, you know, that certain demographic. Now, returning to the box office on this movie, it was impressive to say the least. This was a movie made for $7 million. Even if you say advertisement costs another $7 million, you're talking about $14 million out the door. And it made $60,249,685 million domestically. Internationally, it made $48,419,734. So worldwide, you're talking $108,669,419. Well beyond anyone's expectation. Now, granted, those numbers are about popularity, but if we go and we look at the other thing, profitability, well, this thing, it made money too. In the domestic forum, for example, you figure about 60 to 65% of that goes home with the company, and at 65%, you would be talking over $39 million being banked there. Now, as far as international numbers go, you take home about 45% of that, but even at that number, you're talking $21,788,880 in change. All told, for a buy-in of $7 to $14 million, you see a return of $60,951,175 in change. Not too shabby, I have to say. Not too shabby at all. Now, compare the marketing, which I talked about in another video, the cost of Onward, which comes in at $175 to $200 million, and the fact that Onward may well lose over $100 million. You see people wanting to disassociate from that. And, well, the other movie. Now, interestingly, with that, audiences, they already seem to like this movie. 88% is where they currently stand, with verified ratings of 10,648 ratings, meaning, of course, if you don't know about that, that means you bought a ticket verified. Now, as far as critics are concerned, you have a 91% here, too. And again, it looks like critics, they want to adopt this movie now. I mean, it's their proverbial cup of tea. Now, hilariously enough, that wasn't always the case, as I noted before, and is captured in this Bounding into Comics Comics article. By the way, if you haven't checked out Bounding into Comics, you definitely should. They record stuff like this, and they take their lumps for it, but they showcase how CBR writer here claimed that this new Invisible Man, before it came out, would be more toxic and dangerous than Todd Phillips' Joker, basically throwing the movie under the bus before anyone had dared see it. See, after the plot to the movie was revealed, nothing else, we have a trailer, but we don't have anything else to look at. CBR writer comes out and says, ooh, that's it, we need to shut it down. They add to that this is a movie about controlling a woman and gaslighting her to the point where she thinks she's insane. It's very tone-deaf, given the male-dominated and at times chauvinistic society we live in, where some men do seem to think they have ownership over women's bodies. We see it in brands, the corporate and business world, and the entertainment industry, which is known to objectify women's bodies. So why should a man like Adrian own Cecilia's mind? It's another distasteful plot of a man wanting to have power over an innocent woman. Now, when it comes to the male protagonists, they go further, saying that faking a, Minecrafting incident on yourself to create a situation where everyone starts viewing the female protagonist as insane is a pretty extreme direction for the studio to take the movie. Now, I thought that was funny, too, just to say within that, because apparently they never watched Gone Girl, but hey, them watching movies instead of complaining about them, no, that probably never transpires. Now, additionally, they take umbrage to other plot points, of course, noting not to mention Cecilia having to fight being deemed crazy by the authorities in order to pocket the inheritance means she's basically selling her mind and safety for the sake of a bank account. That's a very toxic spin, and it's anti-is, the one is that they love that should be thrown in here, feminist, because men shouldn't be looking at women like possessions in this manner. Universal has reduced Cecilia's intelligence and very being down to a figure on a checkbook. Then they have to go after a different movie altogether, Hollow Man from the odds, because oh my God, Invisible Man, and how dare it be that way. That said, the concept of the Invisible Man has always been problematic, most notably in the movie Hollow Man from the odds. The character stalked women's, even committing, that certain type of attack. So why should a man who wants to subjugate a woman and make her his mental slave not be treated with the same disdain in this day and age, more politically correct times? After all, Adrian's not obsessed with heists that lead him to stealing physical objects, but he's violating a woman's mind and stealing her freedom in more ways than one. My God, I wonder if these people ever listen to themselves. Thankfully, the diatribe is almost over, and they end on this. This is a very dangerous example. Notice that word there, by the way, dangerous example Hollywood is setting for men who harbor anti-female biases. I swear, they make this about real life. By making a woman's inheritance contingent on her sanity, Universal's not just being disrespectful to the female gender, but to those who struggle with mental health on the whole. So, we want to be offended by what's in the movie. We want to be offended by the idea that mental health is added in. Basically, we want to be offended by everything because we don't want this movie to be out there, period. That was the take on this before it came out. Afterward, as I said, it became an entirely different situation where these folks sat down and they said, one of us, to the drumbeat of success. You see this sentiment scattershot in review after review, with certain buzzwords coming into play again and again. They remake it into the image of current year, talking about how now this is about the omnipresent threat of men, how they're perpetually lurking, perpetually dangerous. Again, you see this in critics after critics' design. Even the negative reviews harken back to a specific hashtag talking about the allegory statements within this, forgetting how just months ago this was supposed to be the bane of that very thing. Now that, of course, leads to this magnum opus, as it were. The other article that I showed you was actually talking about this. This is from Variety. And notice this too. This is actually written by a man. In fact, if you go back and look at everything that we just talked about, all of those things were written by men. Isn't that interesting? It makes you wonder if men out there these days, when they're talking about movies, if they're afraid not to put buzzwords into something, if they're afraid not to applaud at least a little bit and to say, that current year. They have to do that. And I wonder what the or else is. Now, what's astounding about this article is it talks about the success of The Invisible Man, again, going against all those narratives just a few months previously. And then it brings up something else that I think is absolutely hilarious, because that means that they hear us talking. Get woke, go broke. They want so badly to prove that that is not true, because they want Hollywood to make the movies that they say that they'll support, even though they don't watch movies. Now, what's hilarious about an article like this is it does everything to say, number one, movies like Ghostbusters 2016, they should have succeeded. Number two, when you talk about those points that we said before, throw them out the window, because now they're actually valid. Quote, you could say that the premise of just about every woman in peril movie is that toxic masculinity is out there, that it's scary and violent and dangerous, and that it's coming for you. That was true decades before the term toxic masculinity was invented. But when you watch The Invisible Man, the fearful and cunning new thriller starring Elizabeth Moss as a woman who fights off a cat and mouse stalking moves of a man she can't see, a man who therefore to everyone else doesn't exist, what's new is the heightened awareness of what it feels like, what it means to be a woman in trouble whom no one believes. That's what makes the film an expression of a certain hashtag out there world. Interesting, huh? Now, what's hilarious, and I want to end on this, is they actually undo their own narrative, telling you that, this movie did well, but look at those others that didn't. Quote, in the context of the movie industry that is only just starting to change, that's myopic, it is also destructive, since it comes down to people grappling at any excuse out there to avoid putting out the experience of a woman at the center of motion pictures. So people didn't want to see another Terminator film or another Charlie's Angels. What the success of The Invisible Man points to is how much they do want to see a movie that grapples urgently and entertainingly with who women are. So in 3 months, this went from this isn't worth seeing to this is all women, all because, it had a bit of a success. Showcases how inconsistent some of these people are, no? But anyway, you tell me what you think. Now, ending this very briefly, I want to say thank you for showing up and participating. I do appreciate that more than I can say. Not enough people say that, and you deserve that there. You spend your time here. I don't want to monopolize it, but I do want to thank you for it. And if you like this, you're always welcome. Subscribe, share videos, whatever the case may be. But even if you don't do that, that's fine. You're welcome here. I appreciate you. You don't have to agree with anything, it's just showing up matters. So ending, again, thank you. Appreciate you. We'll do this again soon. Not only that, but it's performing in a time when movies aren't supposed to make money, and it's outperforming movies like we just talked about, with Onward falling by the wayside. That was supposed to be a victory, but now it's not.